Hi everyone, my name's Lisa. I'm a garden educator. Welcome back to my show. You asked, what can I plant now? In this episode, we'll talk about what you can plant now and we'll start to make our planting plan. Those warm, sunny spring days, they're so nice after a long, wet, dark winter. We sometimes forget and we convince ourselves it's already summer and we want to jump ahead and start planting our summer crops. But if we do that, those crops won't do so well. We have to remember we have a very long, cool spring. So here's one of our principles. Right plant, right time. We need to plant plants when they have the best chance to thrive and grow. One of the ways we separate plants is by cool season crops and warm season crops. So if we know what cool season crops like and what warm season crops like, we can better put the plants out when it's best for them. So let's start with the cool season crops because that's what we're doing right now. Cool season crops, they like it to be 40 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the air temperature, which means the soil temperature is going to be somewhere 45 to 55 degrees. They like full sun but can handle a little bit of shade. And most of them are hardy to at least 20 degrees Fahrenheit and some even colder. Now, we were talking about plant families before when we were talking about brassicas. So here are some of our favorite cool season crops. I've got some flashcards here. All right. This is the beet family. Spinach, chard, and beets. Here's our carrot family. Oh, I gotta get it. Here it comes. Carrot family, carrots, fennel, parsley, and cilantro. Now these aren't all of the members of these families, but these are some of our favorites and some that are okay to plant right now. Now, there's a lot in the cabbage tribe. It might be listed if you see it somewhere as the mustard family. This is broccoli and radish, Brussels sprouts and cauliflower, Asian greens and kale and collards, and just so many delicious cabbage tribe family. There's also the onion family. It loves cool weather too, so leeks and onions and chives love it right now. Legumes are a cool season crop. Peas, they love a cool season, and if we plant them now, they'll be ready for us to eat starting in late May or June. We can plant snap peas, snow peas, and shelling peas now. And the sunflower family, one of the most delicious families around, filled with lettuce and endive and some sunchokes. And if you come back, I'm going to be eating some sunchokes as we go along in yard food. That's one of the things I noticed out in my yard. So these are all the cool season crops, and they love it right now. All right, so what do warm season crops need? Warm season crops need 60 degrees or warmer Fahrenheit. That's the air temperature. And the soil temperature needs to be pretty warm, 55 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. These definitely want full sun in the warmest place you can find them, and they are not very hardy. Some of our most tender warm season crops, they just fade away starting at about 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, what are the members? What are some of the crops that are warm season? Well, a lot of the other things that I didn't mention. The tomato family, so peppers, tomatoes, eggplants. The squash family, zucchini, cucumber, pumpkin, beans, and corn. Our cat wants to be a video star. So now we know what cool season crops need, what warm season crops need, and we're starting to get which plants belong to which group. Now, where do we plant them? In our climate, we can plant all year round, but we have to have some strategies. So we can plant in 3 different places. We can plant outside. We can plant outside under cover, like under a little mini greenhouse or under some floating row cover, or inside to transplant later. We'll start with outside. What can we plant outside? All right, it's still pretty cold to be planting seeds and things, but it's a perfect time to be planting bare root fruit, vines, shrubs, and strawberries. All of these you can find in the nurseries right now. They're just a little stick with some roots, and you plant them in your garden and they start to grow. So outside we can plant bare root trees, vines, and shrubs, and we can plant strawberries. We can also, if we have a pretty warm area, we can plant some cool season starts and cool season seeds. We're working on our up close teaching. We can also plant outside under cover. It's still pretty cold out there. My soil is still very wet. I think that if I put seeds in the ground, they might not germinate very quickly. I could get a quicker start if I put them in a warm bed covered with some remay or some floating row cover. When I'm out teaching at nurseries and libraries and community centers, teaching folks organic gardening, I often say that if you don't have this book and you're trying to grow vegetables, flowers, or herbs in the Maritime Northwest, you're making it harder than it needs to be. The Maritime Northwest Garden Guide is our favorite planting calendar. This is the second edition. This is the one that I wrote, and this is separated month to month and tells you how and when to plant. If you don't have that book, I have a very simple chart that I work with my kids. Just an Excel spreadsheet that I'm going to put up on my website at Garden with Lisa, and you can use that to plan your garden. Now, before we go, I want to show you some of my favorite cool season crops that I'm going to start planting out in my garden beds as soon as the soil warms up just a little bit. All right, I told you I would introduce you to some of my favorite cool season crops, and here they are. If you're out at the nurseries or the grocery stores, the plant starts are gonna be available, and I hear that a lot of our favorite spring plant sales are actually gonna happen as well. So keep your ears tuned. And keep your eyes out, because you may find these. I've got some beautiful leeks that I'm going to be planting in our garden in future episodes. Delicious lettuce, beautiful red lettuce. I've got this really cute pea called a sugar Ann. It just grows to be about 2.5 feet tall, makes a delicious snap pea. This is that bulbing fennel. You know what? I've never grown this before, but it was one of the things I could find. So we're going to be growing fennel and trying that in some fancy salads coming up. I've got a parsley here because I do love a parsley garnish. And I'm going to be planting some Swiss chard seeds coming up. This is a little Swiss chard start that some friends of mine passed along so I could show you one of my favorite hardy spring vegetables. So now you know about warm and cool season crops. You know that you can plant outside under cover, or inside to transplant later. You know that I showed you a couple of planting calendars, so you don't have to make it all up. Next step that I would take in my garden planning is to figure out what I want to plant. Come back and we'll do that in one of our next episodes. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and visit my website and my Facebook page at Garden with Lisa. And keep coming back. Let's make a garden.